Welcome to your Wednesday, February 4th, 2026 morning update. And tomorrow, just in a bit of news, is our 100th episode, likely to be just as fabulous as the 99 that preceded it, and evidence that this thing's kind of picking up some momentum. We had well over 124,000 views last week across the 5 days. That's not too bad. Really, this is just me, right? Talking about stuff. Talking is what we do here. Free speech makes all of this possible, and we have a First Amendment to protect it. But that's not how it works in the rest of the world, especially in Europe, where Eva Vlaardingerbroek is a lawyer, a Dutch lawyer. She's also an activist. She got sparked by COVID, the response to COVID, the farmers, and now she's, if you search her, a far-right activist or commentator. She was on Tucker Carlson, and she said some very interesting things that I thought we all needed to hear, because while we have a First Amendment, the government, particularly the deep state and the troglodytes who run it, don't give a damn, as evidenced by the Second Amendment. Here's Ava.
Well, I mean, that's kind of the question. Where is this going? And we're in the very infancy of AI, supercomputing, the ability of governments to actually control their populations at the level of the individual in a way that no government has ever been capable of doing. And so if you marry bad intent to increase capacity for repression, you could wind up with an open air prison camp the size of a continent very quickly.
Yeah. Well, that's exactly what is happening now to just a few individuals, but we don't know how fast this will happen to the entire continent. Maybe you guys have heard of the chat control proposal, right? That the EU wanted to enforce, which got shut down, but now they're trying it through another backdoor again. They want to basically be able to read all of our messages under the guise of preventing, child pornography, et cetera, from being spread. So they want to use, I mean, it's funny.
They're really worried about
up with the most.
Epstein's friends are really worried about child pornography. Okay.
It's generally understood that the government is already collecting all of this information, or could just get it with a publicly facing warrant or without one. And so the question is, what's the difference? Well, whether or not they could use it, I suppose. But again, we can still talk about it.
Right. So, but AI is going to be used to do that. They are going to be scanning our messages to see if any of that material is being spread, or at least that's what they say. But it means that these unelected bureaucrats are reading all of your messages, essentially, have access to all of your messages. And I don't know when people are going to wake up to all of these pretexts, right, that are always being given. Just like Keir Starmer last week said that he wanted to ban X because of women's safety concerns, because Grok was making those bikini edits. Yeah, women's safety. But I mean, do we have to talk to the man about the Rotherham rapes and stuff? It's honestly, it's laughable, but it has real life consequences for real life people. And I think what you said about Europe turning into an open air prison is just right. That's exactly what is happening.
Now, we have our fair share of bureaucracies, and of course, Mr. Trump is doing his best to try to whittle back a little bit here and there, and he needs Congress to help, and Congress is full of slothful assholes who really don't want to do anything except get reelected. So we need to continue to push. They have been making promises that they will start to enshrine into law many of the things that Mr. Trump has written executive orders about, or actions that he's taken to reduce the size and scope of government. It's still way too stinking big. And the reason it needs to get smaller is because if you don't make it smaller, we end up like Europe.
But how do you escape that? That's the question that we all have. How do you unelect people that you've never elected in the first place? How do you get your rights back when it's just presented to you that someone has taken them away from you, and they've granted themselves that power? Because that is exactly what happens here. And people feel defenseless in the face of it.
Nothing says stand up and defend your right to free speech like somebody who's living in a place where they don't have it.
So what are the rules for speech in Europe, if we could get specific about this? Because I think it helps to understand why it's happening, who's doing it, if we understand what you're not allowed to say. So what are you not allowed to say in Europe right now?
Well, essentially, you are not allowed really to criticize the establishment. You are not, especially not allowed to talk about the replacement migration going on in Europe. They're going to say that that is hateful, um, hateful language, inflicting racial hatred, etc. So that's something that really seems to bother them.
They are actually in danger of being arrested, fined, imprisoned, silenced, and, depending on who you piss off, maybe even killed, right? So, yay for free speech. We're happy to have it. We have to defend it. That's it for today. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Episode 100.